My soundpost fell over. Hey folks, Lucas Welsh here. And we've got this problem has got to be as old as violins are. Soundpost fell over. Okay? I actually had this happen to me, not on my own fiddle, but I was at a performance. One of the other fiddle players, their soundpost fell over while they were trying to find a buzz. The soundpost fell over. So it was like, no fear, we'll get her back going. And so I had to monkey around, and I found a couple pieces of wire, and I made it all work, and I got the soundpost back in and adjusted, more or less where it needed to be, and got them through. Now, I'm sure many of you have seen, a little piece of string tied onto your soundpost that's just floating around inside there, and guess what? That's how the old timers would get it back in when they didn't have a soundpost setter and their soundpost fell over. So I thought, hey, this could be a cool video. How to set your soundpost back up when it's fallen over and you're in a pinch and you don't have a luthier close that can do it for you, or you got to get going to a show or something like that. So I'm going to give you a few home tips and tricks that can get you going. And I can't stress enough that this is like last resort kind of stuff. I don't intend for people to go and start setting soundposts, with whatever they can find lying around. But in a pinch, you got to get going. You got a show to play. You're the only fiddle player for a couple 100 miles, whatever it is. I figured, you know what? Let's give you some tools that can maybe help you get going. So let's dig right into this. I've got a few little things that I kind of dug around, I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, what's something that might commonly be found? And I thought, hey, a fork. There might be some potential here. I just grabbed a fork and I went kind of through them, and I found one that the teeth kind of bent, pretty easy. So I might have a chance at using something like this. I've never tried using a fork to put a soundpost back in. Let's give it a shot. I was walking to my shop. My kids had an old skipping rope or something. I thought, well, there's that. I also have this ball of thin cord here. Something like that, string, knitting yarn, anything. It's nice to have something with a little bit of weight, though, because when you drop it down the F-hole, you got to get it to go and come out the other F-hole. So, like a knitting yarn or something might be a little bit thin. And then this is a ball of just wire. It bends, it holds its shape. You can cut it to whatever length. You can get this at any hardware store. Something else that I've used in the past that works quite well is electrical wire, like for wiring a house. They call it, like it's often like 14-2 is the gauge with the 14 gauge wire. There's two strands in a sleeve. They sell it by the foot. You could run to the hardware store, get yourself a foot of that and cut it open. Nice thing about that wire is it's got a little bit of a protective coating around it, so it won't mar up the finish and whatnot. But you're going to have to be careful using wire or anything else. Okay? All right. With the end pin out, you can look inside the violin and you can tell if your soundpost is straight up and down or all those things. Okay. And you got to get it out of there. So I kind of, if you've ever gotten a guitar pick out of a guitar, you know what I'm doing. I'm lining up that soundpost with this F-hole, and I'm going to quickly flip it over. And I got to I lost her completely there. There we go. sometimes slow is better. I'm going to take my fork and I'm just going to stick it up in there and let that sound post fall up against it. And then there, my sound post is out. All right. So this is the proper tool. This is a sound post setter. Okay, pointy end. You stick the end in. You feed the post down in there, and you set it into place. And then with this end, you can get in and adjust. We don't have one. We don't have one. So I'm looking at this fork and I'm thinking, hey, I got a lot of attributes for a sound post setter. I got teeth that can poke and maybe even move. So I'm looking at this thing and I'm going, I wonder if I can make that work. See how I'm holding that in there? Let's get you in a little closer. Now, I don't know. Let's just see here. Number one, I'm thinking I want to run into some issues here with how I'm gonna. Yeah, you see. So I can't just do that. Let's see. There's always going to be an old hole. So let's see if I can spear it. And I can. I'm going to lose it, I feel like. So the problem with this is that all these other ones are kind of in my way a little bit. So, you know, I could potentially do something like, I don't want to damage the fork, you know. So let's see here. If I just kind of set that sound post down in there, and I wonder if I could reach through from the other side. And I've got it now. And all I'm doing is I'm kind of putting pressure on the bottom part of the sound post. I'm trying to get that. So it's not really working, if I'm being honest. It's not really working. But what's happened is I've got control of the sound post now. I just can't finagle it. So if I had another fork that I could go from this side now and push a little bit on the top, I could get it straight, and I'm pretty confident that I could set it. But I don't have another fork in here. So let's see here. What do I got that you might find around the house? Oh, I got a pair of tweezers, although these kind of have an angle on there, and I wouldn't want to give myself a fair advantage. Some of those. Here, these are just a straight pair of really garbage tweezers, okay? So, I'm going to use these. And I'm just going to see if I can just push the top of that sound post upright. So what the issue is now is I've got too strong of a grip with my fork, and it won't let it go. Like it's jammed on there pretty hardcore. So I'm gonna try and spread these out a little bit here. I'm maybe gonna. See, it's a little bit tight. So what if I try and pry them open here with something else? Make that a little bit wider. Oh, that's nicer. You know, so it's going to come off of there easier. Okay, we're going to try again. Now, I'm going to set this down in there. And I'm going to try and set it down in there as straight as I possibly can. I'm going to grab it low this time with the fork. So I'm right at the bottom of the soundpost. And it kind of fell down, but that's okay because I've still got it set. And I'm just pushing the top over a little bit. Now, if I could. So, I kind of got my soundpost standing in there, actually. Which was, I don't want to say easy, but I've had a lot more trouble than that. That was a couple minutes. So now I could probably go with maybe just the one side of my fork. And I could probably push that straight a little bit. You know, I could use this kind of like a soundpost setter now and tap around a little bit. I'm going to look here through the back. Now, I'm not going to be able to show you this, but so it's kind of at an angle. It's at a little bit of an angle. And likely what needs to happen is the top needs to come over a little bit. Now that's a little bit tricky. I'm not going to lie, because I can't seem to push the bottom over where I need to, because it's too tight. So, I mean, the other thing, a fork, who would have thought? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to try a little bit more. I'm going to take, and I'm going to put a little bend in my fork. It's kind of like that, okay? I'm going to go from the off side, and I'm going to try and push that soundpost in, and it did it. And I actually went just a little tickle too far. So now I could probably go from here and go back. And that soundpost is as straight as it needs to be to hold under pressure. Okay? Now, I gotta say, I was not expecting a fork to work. This flip and fork trick may just be the answer to your prayers. I mean, if you're in a city, you could go to some Salvation Army or thrift shop or whatever and pick up a cheap, thin type fork, a thin fork for, 25 cents. And you got a makeshift soundpost setter. You just want it to be bendable. You need it to be bendable with your hand a little bit so that, it's not going to do anything. This, what can I say? This is easily the best alternative I've ever used to put a soundpost in. Okay? That almost seemed too easy. So there you go. And then you would just pop your stuff back in, get your, strings on, your bridge in, and away you go. You're making music again. And I mean, that soundpost is not quite perfectly straight up and down. It's good enough on all angles to get this violin playing and through a show until you can get it to your luthier, your violin tech, and have them go through and do a tonal adjustment for you. Okay? All right. That's method 1. Let's undo this. Okay. Method 2. We're going to go straight to the string, because the string is definitely more difficult. Okay, and we're gonna get us a nice little length of string so that we're not, you know, fighting string here. We're not gonna. Okay, you want to tie your string to the top end. Okay, not right at the top, I wouldn't suggest, but down a little bit, so that you can do your thing. And all I would do is I would just do an overhand knot, one, get it in the center, grab your bridge and tie down. Okay, now you can guess what this is going to be like inside there, right? You're gonna have to get the bottom sitting down somewhere and then lift that back up. Now, the one thing to keep in mind here is that there's an angle cut on that thing to match the inside. Okay, so whatever side the little dimple is, you want that going to the side so that it's going to fit, you know, so that you got the best chance at doing this as good as you can. Okay, now the trick with this is that you're going to have to fish this string down in there. Okay, I'm going to cut this end off because it's a little bit cruddy. And maybe what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tie a small knot in there so that all that stuff doesn't start unwinding on me, because that won't be very fun. Do that on both ends here. Oops. Okay, so I'm dropping an end down here. Feed some string down into there. You're gonna need something to kind of, you gotta get that string down to the other side, and then it's laying up over my F-hole. I'm gonna grab this fork, just reach in and pull that out. All right, so now we've got our string in there and everything. I really wish I could show you guys the inner workings of how this is gonna go, okay? But it's not gonna be pretty, and I've got this kind of in the wrong. So again, I want to go past the center, get my bottom standing up like so, and then I'm going to pull this up to tightness. Okay? And you want to keep that string up around the top. You might even have to, you know, grab another thing. Let's see. So when we're kind of get it, that's kind of the way we want it. We're going to fall down on the thing, and then we're going to pull it up to straight. Okay? The thing about this is you can keep, oh dear. Okay, we're there. You know where your string is going to be on center. You want it back a little bit of that center. So what I'm finding here is I can't get it to, oh, there we go. Oh, so what I'm finding, this, going back to the fork, darn fork, pretty handy. Okay. What I'm finding here is that I'm having trouble with the bottom wanting to just skate all over the place in there. So you see, every time I'm the post is laying like this too much because it's kind of being pulled up. It's weird how it's doing. Maybe if I take this knot closer to the top. And I also feel like my knot is giving me trouble, so I'm gonna throw a half hitch in there to really lock it in place. Okay, let's try again. So now we're way up high with our knot. Jeez. Okay. Oh yeah, that was the trick right there. Okay. So I got it standing up. But again, I'm in this pickle here now where it's like this. The top is way to the middle and the bottom is way over to the side. I know I need to pull that top, so let's just see here. I got a little bit. Well, that came reasonable. I'm quite far over to the side. Now, if you want to check that, you don't need much to check it, actually. You could take a business card or a piece of hard cardboard, and you're just going to simply cut a slit into it, okay? And you're just going to take one side and slide it up against the sound post, and there it's up against it. Now you can see where the edge of your sound post is. And it's a little bit far over, but we did this with a string, okay? So it's not too bad, actually. And, you know, now of course you would just drop that string inside, restring it, and away you go. So I think the trick with doing it with a string is to have that string up to the top, I guess. Okay? I'm learning with you folks here. All right. We're going to pop that out one more time here. So the fork works. The string works. And I know this last one works because I've done it. Okay? So get yourself a piece of wire. You could probably get yourself a coat hanger. Or like I was saying, go to the hardware store and get yourself a piece of 14-2 electrical wire. Or if you're at the hardware store, they probably have this type of wire too. Okay? If you're really cagey when you cut this with a pair of pliers and you try and cut yourself a little bit of a point, you may, and I do say may, just get lucky enough to be able to jam that point in there and bend your thing up. Crank this around a little bit so you've got a little bit of a holder. I mean, basically, I've got a sound post setter here now. But this is a pretty, see, that's a pretty, what do we call that? A tenuous grasp. But it may just be enough. Okay? We feed that through ever so gently. Did that just happen? Okay, so it's really, really bad. It's really poorly set. That would not be good enough. Okay? That would not be good enough. But it's in there holding on its own. What you could do now, and what I did the last time, is I had two pieces of this going. Okay? So then what I did is I took... I actually did this beforehand. I just took a screwdriver or whatever, and I made a, I made a little shape like that would hook the sound post. Okay? And then you just gotta, you know, kind of get the right bend and everything, and you'll figure that out so that you can reach in. I should have done this the other way. So that you can kind of reach in there and snag that. Try and move that post around a little bit. Now, I gotta pull the top, to me, quite a ways. So I'm going in, hooking past. The problem with wire is it doesn't have a lot of strength, so it's, you know, but by golly, that brought it a long ways. We're gonna try for a little wee tickle more. I felt it. And let's just see where we're sitting. Okay, again, slitting a piece of cardboard, and I go up, boom, I'm right on the middle of that bridge foot where it's supposed to sit. Okay, and if I go to the front of the post, you can see how the edge of the paper lines up just behind that notch. That's not too bad. By golly, that will get it done already. All right, so there you have it. String, piece of wire, a fork. Any one of those can potentially do it on its own. Any combination would just make the job easier. Like if I had used a piece of wire or the fork with the string, it would have made it a lot easier. This actually worked out pretty darn slick. So if, you know, this would probably be the first thing I look for, is a piece of wire, if I'm being honest. Because I can shape it to exactly what I want really easily with my fingers, and away we go. The fork worked surprisingly well. The only thing with the fork was it was a little harder to fine-tune what I wanted. But with the fork, I had a little bit of weight, and I could bump it around a little bit and actually manipulate the post like a sound post setter would. So there was some distinct advantages over the wire. The least amount of adjustability is with the string. I mean, if you can get it standing up, that's it. You're there. You can maybe pull it straight, but you can't fine tune with the string too much. Just side to side. You can't do back and forth. With the wire, you can't do a lot of back and forth either. So you'd have to be, make sure you're coming into the right line just behind this notch, and away you go. Anyway, I thought this might be a fun little video for anybody that's ever had this problem. And there's a couple little tips and tricks on setting your sound post up without proper tools. All right. Cheers, folks. Thanks for watching.